Alrighty, folks, welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting this Thursday, September 10th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Let's get a quick sound check just to begin, make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear, and let's hop right to it. We got a sinking market. Dow is screaming on the way down going into this afternoon. Down, I was about to say near 600 points, but I think it's pretty much over 600 now, at least from high to low. Great to see everybody, though. Greg, Chelsea, Donnie, William, David, Leda, Sharon, Bonnie, Chuck, Pat, as well. So, and all of us joining, of course, on social media, Facebook Live, and YouTube, guys. Welcome on back. Hey, we have a sinking market going into this afternoon. We also have a press conference at 3 p.m. Eastern today. President Trump, whether you like him, dislike him, I don't care. We're going to keep that part of it outside the trading room at least. But, we'll see how that affects the market going into this afternoon as well, especially with how fast we're kind of dropping here. So, going into this afternoon, we'll kind of check out the side list stocks, as we always like to say. I kind of fail to do that at times, but I will make sure, especially with the way the markets are moving, we jump to the airlines, the cruise lines, the casino stocks. Penn National Gaming was breaking higher today. That's at least going to be on the gainer side, unless if that's like completely sinking right now too. But what we'll do is pretty much go from top to bottom. CODX, I wanted to start with at least here. It is moving up this afternoon, but it's one that we've been following over the last like 2.5, 3 months. I mean, really much longer than that, I'm sure. But, for as much as this stock dropped over the last 2.5, 3 weeks, I'd say on the daily chart, I probably had said this going into, Tuesday during this very meeting. At what point do we begin to see this make a bigger squeeze up? So it started Tuesday, ended up closing near at the highs. It dived off yesterday, ended up closing, I think it was down like 11% at least. And then obviously today back up 20+%. So, where it is right now going into the afternoon, even with the markets dipping off, we'll put this right on our list, expecting a potential, higher high, a potential breakout heading into the afternoon. But, hey, it doesn't mean that there's a new snippet out there for me to copy and paste. I tried checking Benzinga Pro. I didn't see anything. As Fausto would say, this could very well just be like a short squeeze to see this eventually like pump up off of, maybe bad vaccine news for, AstraZeneca, perhaps. I don't know, maybe people putting money into some of the other pharmas. Who knows? I'm just shooting from the hip with that. But, right now I'm checking Benzinga Pro. No headline. No, positive news snippet for me to copy and paste for you folks here. So, for right now, we'll see if this could end up holding a higher low and then re-breaking higher over that 1250. All righty, pardon me there. Oof, they had me on the mic today from 8 a.m. up until right now. So let's hop right through the gainer side, folks, from top to bottom. We have Penn, but we also have Ren, number 1% gainer here, up 38%, even with the markets diving off. Just because it's up 38% doesn't mean that we're going to put it on the list. This thing is pretty flat. Volume. After this spike here, I guess, really, it died off, but even before that. All right, so the Y10 trade at least is one that I'll take a little time to go over briefly from this morning. It was on our pre-market watch list. Fausto ended up putting it on the CTU morning watch list. Rightfully so. I mean, it was one of the top percent gainers at the time, up well more than 37 right now. Going into the open still for a stock that was up as much as it was, you would expect the pullback. It's got a funky open here, I'll tell you. I think it got halted like 2 or 3 times on the way up, on the way down, on the way back up. Yeah, you can see the pullback at 9:30. That we would expect. It ended up crashing through, but eventually holding around 7. And then from there popped, got halted right away. It gapped up higher, but then slammed back down. Ended up kind of making a double top right off the highs there, 835. From there, dropped back down, got halted. And man, this thing was all over the place. So, worthwhile to put on the list leading into the open, but unfortunately, it was more of a dud than anything. It was like just spread was wacky. Order book was kind of more empty than it is right now. Obviously, right now, dumping back down, that part isn't really a surprise that, it's not really breaking higher. So, yeah, for right now, we'll kind of keep this off the list. Maybe to keep it in mind, maybe going into tomorrow, if not tomorrow, next week. For as much as this is going to dump back down, you got to figure, I'm sure it will make a smaller squeeze back up. I'm sure at some point the stock will make its way back on the gainer side, this or next week. NOVN, ooh, cheapy. I like the chart moving up from like 11 o'clock pop from 40 cents all the way up to 60. That's a pretty significant pump up. It pulled back quite a bit. So, my stance on this, to see it make a second squeeze up higher going into the afternoon, it's really tough to expect. Now, I'm not just going to toss it out the window right now. Take a look on the daily chart. Big gap fill opportunity, but so even a ways away from that. Let's see, is this like a $5,000 stock back in like 2016? Close. It's taken quite a hit back from 2017, back when it was a $35 stock. So not to say it's even going to get close to that, but it leads me to say that perhaps we could see this make a stronger push heading into the afternoon. I'll keep it on the side. We'll give it a second look at the end. Leo says penny stock, and hey, I want to bring that up really fast though before moving on. We nickname it a penny stock here in this room. It's below $1, right? So we kind of nickname, hey, it's a penny stock. It's listed on the NASDAQ, right? So it's not like a bulletin board stock. It's not a blue a pink sheet stock, so to say. It's listed right here on the NASDAQ. You'll see more volume right from the NASDAQ total view that Fausto uses. So, keep that in mind. I mean, we nickname it penny stock. So, certainly one that you could trade 5,000, 10, 20,000 shares of. Just know your worth on a trade like this, even to make, 8 to 10 cents on a stock like this would be an absolute grand slam. Picking up a couple cents, I think, would be a pretty nice goal. But, that's where I say just know your worth. Alrighty, so NOVN, we'll give a second look at least. It is pushing up pretty nicely. This QH, I guess you could say the same, but the spread's like really open. Pretty empty, thin order book. I'll pass. VRTU, not going to check the news. You guys check it for me. My guess is going to be a buyout. AGEN. This thing's been pushing up all day. We called this out shortly after the market opened up. It wasn't one that landed on the pre-market list, the CTU morning list, but Fausto actually called this out right from the get-go here after the market opened up. So we ended up calling it out from right around 425, 430. He ended up getting out a bit early, he had mentioned, but who cares? I mean, we were up on a steady trend early on in the morning. So, for what it's worth, it pushed all the way up towards just about 480, 475. From there, the volume died off. This flattened out, but hey, it held strong, pushed up higher. Big volume spike. My guess is right here when it broke over 5. I can't go back. Let's see. Yeah, when it popped over 5, that's pretty much it. So that big volume spike is where you ended up seeing an iceberg order getting filled right off the ask at $5. So it goes to show strong resistance should create strong support. The fact it's shortable alone leads me to put this on the list. But if it ends up dropping down, 5 would be a pretty strong support, you would think. And then otherwise, it seems like it's holding strong here. Otherwise, we might see this begin to push higher going into the close. 525, 528, volume filled there, likely from more like consolidation. Currently, there's like a 14,000 share order on the ask at 535. So that could be more of like an interim resistance, interim level in between 5 and 550. All right. AGEM. Let's see what else we got here. NNDM, familiar name. I want to take a look at this one. This one's more of a pump and dump I've seen at times, but kind of slow on the way up. Pretty flat now. RH, I don't know why I turned to this $390 stock. Pretty flat here in the meantime. I guess for what it's worth, flat. I mean, it's probably in like a $2, $3 range. more like a $12 range here on the way down, moving back up. It's still tradable, I guess, in that sense, but spread's huge, very expensive. We're not going to trade a stock that expensive, usually. IGMS, same thing. All right, let's kind of just skim down here. PRTK, at least more liquid, much cheaper. Looking back on the chart here, kind of slow. It's near the highs. I like that part, but we'll kind of pass for right now. If it ends up popping, I'm sure we'll be early to the punch on that. We'll scan for it early. Tcon, look at this thing. This thing is still pushing up. We followed this from at the end of last week, if I'm not mistaken, right before Labor Day weekend. So a pop up from 250 up towards 325, 330. Then obviously kept going. Yesterday, little pop and drop, and this thing's had a wild day yesterday. pop, drop, and then ended up closing pretty much a little bit underneath its open. Then obviously gap up, run up today at the highs right now. So yeah, looking all right to watch for the meantime here this afternoon. Decon. CODX already on our list. Let's take a look at this one at least. In the meantime, pulled back to 12, pop back up to 12.23. What else? Agrx. This could be interesting. Let's see. Like tradable, not too much to really write home about here. It is shortable, so you say like, oh, crap's out the other way. It could be a short. It's just slow, low volume, tight spread. Let's see. CPRI number 22. I just saw a chat here from Terrence asking about that. Yeah, great call. So CPRI, fantastic push this afternoon. I saw this early off the call initially, and then I took my eyes off it. So what's the news on this? Capri shares moving higher. Company says it's seeking sequential improvement in comp shares. But all right, a whole bunch of stuff here. I'm going to copy and paste for all of us here live. Pat, you did that right there in the chat board. I appreciate you doing so. For all of us in YouTube, Facebook Live here, at least copy and paste. All right, so CPRI squeezing up nicely. Tight spread for right now. The more it moves up, I'm going to say the spread's going to open up more. Order book is somewhat filled in, albeit a bit thin. So thin tier size is likely on this trade, guys, going into the afternoon. So just I would expect this to be more of a volatile stock the more it pushes up. It's made a $1+ move so far. Ooh, another stock that got beat up from COVID. We ended up seeing the stock got drop from essentially like 35, 30 bucks from the beginning of this year. I mean, even higher, like 40, all the way down to sub 10. Nice pop though so far. Yeah, CPRI looking pretty good. All right, cool. Good call, Terrence, and good timing. And then let's see what else we have here. Just kind of skimming through the gainers list here so far. WTRH, familiar name. Pump and dump. Called it out earlier. I just took my eyes off it, much like that CPRI. This one, though, just dumped all the way back down. Capper's a known pump and dump. Just want to take a look. Yep, kind of going really nowhere. There's Penn, PENN, Penn National Gaming. So they got like an upgrade price target of like 80 bucks. I guess they're still kind of holding there, although they dropped off, with the market as market kind of tanked there going into this meeting. Yeah, I mean, Penn's pretty active. It would be hard for me to not put this on our list. I mean, I'll kind of just tail this on at the end here for right now. Let's see, you got a member here on YouTube saying the NASDAQ is almost down 2%. Yeah, and the Dow right now, Dow Industrial, you can see on my chart, down 1.2%, steady drop off going into this afternoon from the highs. All right, guys, if there's anything that's up, let me know. I mean, hey, just because the market's dropping doesn't mean that we can't find things on the gainers list, right? So, let me know if there's anything else that's up, that's big, that looks decent. If there's anything that's popping off, good news perhaps. Plenty of stocks go against the grain. I mean, obviously the more mid to large caps tend to, move with their sector, move with the market more. And I mean, hey, this STSA, obviously, at least if you're following the chat here inside our trading room, you should know that we're going to focus on this here going into the close too. So the STSA, I want to copy and paste the news here for all of us on YouTube and Facebook Live. Let's see, what do we have here? Oh, no, that's STSI. That would be. Nope. All right. So more or less, STSA news was, they needed FDA approval on like one of their trials. They didn't get it. But with that, I mean, hey, the stock was down, what, like 85% in pre-market. We went over the whole trade in the morning, guys, so I'm not going to do the whole, analysis for right now. For anyone tuning in on, social media, please just join us right inside our trading room if you'd like to learn more. But, more or less, this ended up squeezing up beautifully from like 385, the pre-market level that we had called, all the way up. But, hey, all the way back down, and it is shortable. The only issue that I would have on this trade, this thing's trading so much volume across the day today, 103+ million shares. How about this? Do a little comparison. prior to the news coming out this morning, across the last 50 days, STSA trades an average of 62,000 shares per day. I don't know what the float is. I'll find that out probably a bit after this meeting. But nonetheless, 103 plus million shares is a lot. So this thing's had a really topsy-turvy day. And for us here, day traders in our room, I say that in a great way. The stock is shortable, thankfully. So for as much as we saw this run up and squeeze up, we saw this top off pretty much right around the major resistance that we were calling off 9. Drop right back down underneath there, act as a great short opportunity. Me personally, I missed most of the way up. I caught a good chunk in pre-market, got out too soon. And then from there, I ended up missing out the entire run. I was caught up doing a couple of other things. I ended up catching most of this on the way down more than anything. So it was a great short. For what it's worth, though, I'd say that it might just exhaust itself out. It might just kind of flatten out, trade in like a tight range, not give too much for us, going into the afternoon. Wayne here says the float is 17. Wayne, that's probably 17 million, if I'm not mistaken. It's either 17 million or 1.7 million. Either way, I'd say it's a few cycles around its float in terms of the total volume traded today, 103 million. So I'm going to put it on the list, probably near the middle or bottom. I don't think it's the best stock going into the afternoon, although I personally did pretty well on it. We'll see if it ends up, remaining as active. I hope so. All right. PDCE, it is shortable. It is dropping down pretty nicely. Big prints here over 12. Probably some short covering, you'd imagine. 12.095, 065, 035, 035 right there. So, it ended up dropping under 12, bounced right back over 12. This might be the squeeze back up here in the meantime. So for what it's worth, I don't mind putting this on our list here too. PDCE just seems like tradable stock, shortable on the way down if it ends up kind of making a lower high and pulling back. And yeah. And then Williams says, 17.4, William. So Wayne was right. All right. Yeah, you never know with those stocks down like, 75, 80%, these small cap, pharma stocks. I mean, 17 is still fairly low depending on who you ask. We've seen lower. We've traded lower. We don't intend, but we do know the lower the float, the more like pump and dumpish it could be. It could be like a quicker run up and down too. It's harder to trade, so it's not really worth it as much. So 17 is more than I thought. I'll say that. FCEL. What's interesting about this is that this is actually shortable for those of us with TradeStation. It's like so flat though. It's just near the low of the day. I like that part. Shortable too, but yeah, for right now, we'll pass. Man, this Antx is dropping off here steadily too. Looks pretty interesting. Kind of low volume. That's my only issue. There is 7,100 shares on the bid at 11. So that actually does represent a fairly decent support compared to everything else on the bid. You did have a lot of volume traded off the 11 from earlier consolidation. So, you know what? Hey, I sold myself into it. This actually does look pretty good. ATNX. My dyslexia is kicking in. Sorry about that. Nikola, NKLA. This is like Nikola week here. Now, unfortunately, for all the news that came out on Nikola, earlier in the week going into Tuesday, last night, right, I was on Twitter, and I didn't think 2 and 2 and make 4 here, but here we are. But I was on Twitter. There's this like account I follow, and it just said like they listed just the fact that Hindenburg Research, big firm, they're coming out with this big report on a major well-known stock. Like, all right, cool. I'll take a look, and probably something that will move the stock up or down a little bit. I didn't think it was going to be Nikola, and the first sentence on the report, I know Pat copied and pasted it earlier inside the trading room. Actually, I have it right here. Give me a quick moment. I'll actually copy and paste here really fast. So it goes as follows. This is the first sentence of their big report on Nikola from this morning. It Today, we reveal why we believe Nikola is an intricate fraud built on dozens of lies over the course of its founder and executive chairman, Trevor Milton's career. Whether that is true or not, that does not sound like good news for Trevor Milton and Nikola. So we ended up seeing a big drop-off early on this morning, guys. From there, after the open, well, it squeezed up, but from there found its top, pulled back down. And yeah, going into the close, definitely. We're going to put Nikola right back on our list. This trading room is going to be powered by Nikola profits by the end of this week, I'll tell you. And probably more on the short side than the long from Tuesday. Brad says they need GM to come in and buy more. Yeah, that ended up running it up pretty nicely back on Tuesday. That's right. That was the news earlier in the week. All right. Kind of jumped over a couple here to begin, but otherwise, we'll check out the side list, right? We have to. And by side list, I'm going to go through like a whole slew here, guys. So give me a quick second. Today is Thursday. So after a couple of days worth of trading, you kind of build up this list that you can kind of just sift through, float through. So, I'm just kind of taking a look. WKHS, obviously very tradable stock. We've been following this across, God knows when. But, today ended up dropping off early on, ended up finding its top off the 2450, which we called out as a pre-market level early on today. Dropped all the way back down. And for what it's worth, ended up finding its legs off that 2220. 2220, by the way, folks, there are a couple of levels I called out inside our trading room just before. I was calling out 2244 because we ended up seeing a lot of volume getting filled early on yesterday at that price, but let alone 2220, which it ultimately crashed under and held back over here. That's the opening bell print from yesterday. The opening print, let alone the price. So, difference between the two. The opening print, we ended up seeing like a 200,000+ share fill at 2220. That was the big support, pulled back under and over. So I got out too early on that trade, but this ended up squeezing back up. Maybe I'll put this back on our list here. I want to check out some of the others here first. Beforehand, let's check out NEO. I think, if I'm not mistaken, June was saying earlier he was short on NEO. Yeah, nice drop. This one trades so much volume, right? That's my only complaint on this trade. So when there's news, when there's more activity, perhaps within the sector or just on NEO, I'd be way more interested. It's just shaken up and down quite a bit. I mean, very tradable stock, don't get me wrong. So, if you do well on it and if you made money on it early today, you want to follow it, go ahead. I'm going to kind of back off on this one. I think the WKHS is more volatile, just kind of comparing the two. But hey, let's check out everything else though. NCLH, cruise lines, airlines, casinos. That's pretty gross, pretty flat. Not much going on there. Same with RCL, Royal. Yeah, not much going on here. Pretty interesting. All right, Penn's pushing back up here a little bit. I'll put Penn National Gaming on our list here. This was on the side. And the NOVN, hey, I mean, ended up popping around 11:30. If it popped a little bit closer towards that afternoon meeting time, be more likely to put it on the list. I'll kind of keep this on the sidelines for right now. All right, folks. So as always, we have a pretty good list going into this afternoon. A good list doesn't always mean a good afternoon. Yesterday afternoon was pretty slow, gotta say. So hopefully, kind of a course of action here. We'll see a few stocks run going into the close. Hopefully the market turns around more so than anything. But otherwise, for all of us tuning in on social media, if you guys would like to learn more about Cyber Trading University, CTU here, first and foremost, as always, make sure that you guys like, subscribe, notify yourself right on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/cybertradingu. Otherwise, feel more than free to join us inside our trading room. And for all of us here, well, I'm going to be posting and tweeting the list here coming up, and I'll take us right going into the market close. Take care.